we should all be working towards safe, accessible, affordable water for everyone. Everybody in this country should be able to turn on their tap and trust the water. And
Our hope, the hope of PDA, is that the film will encourage people to become involved not only in supporting the work in Flint, but in looking at water where they live and taking seriously this notion of the stewardship. It's a word we use in our tradition, the faithful and careful management of water wherever we live.
Flint, of course, was the preventable tragedy where you had an emergency manager switching from the Detroit water source to the Flint River, and thought that they could save basically they thought they could save about $5 million over 2 years by making this switch. And they made all sorts of cost-cutting efforts, including failing to spend $140 a day to add these anti-corrosive chemicals to stop the leaching of the lead out of these pipes. We have now spent over $1 billion worry about the quality of their water and their ability to even pay for it.
The treatment of drinking water is so complex, and there is healthy debate over where limits are. What is unsafe water? There's not even a real clear definition of what safe drinking water is, let alone how to figure out if your water is safe. And with PFAS and other chemicals, in water testing, it's sometimes you have to know what's there to test for it, A. But B, those tests also don't help you understand what the confluence of issues, when you have a mix of chemicals, what that means. So there's unfortunately and scarily, a lot we don't know. Paying attention to your community will have a water report that comes out, and having somebody, River Network is hoping that we can get to the place to connect groups with experts that can help translate what some of these issues are. It's a great question. So here's what's currently happening. The only people we hold accountable for our drinking water is our utility. They're trying to treat problems that they didn't cause. Utilities are feeling very much under pressure to solve all the problems because they're the last line of defense. But who's putting PFAS in the drinking water, and who's putting mercury in the drinking water? It's not the utilities.
Most importantly, and often most missing, is law that give people an incentive not to pollute because it would hold them accountable. And they'd have to pay. If you make it and it ends up in our water, you should be responsible for it, for the damages and for the costs.
It's essential from time to time that people turn to bottled water as a bridge because their public water system has failed them. But there is an industry there who has been successful beyond imagination in making people think they need bottled water. Any idea that bottled water is the norm only weakens the commitment of the public for the infrastructure that's essential to bring clean, safe, affordable water to everyone.
Everywhere. And one really important role that residents can play is to give an alert when issues come up, not to assume that somebody else knows about it and that is working on it, but to just say something if you see something. And when you hear something, in Flint, what happened was that residents were ignored and overridden, and primarily because they were poor, they were black and brown, some were undocumented, and so speaking up and listening when others speak up is such an important thing that all of us can do to make sure that we catch issues as they arise and not so far down the road that when they become a disaster, we're not going to forget Flint. And I think that in itself is huge, because how many catastrophes have we forgotten about and then had to relearn painfully those lessons?